What's going on, everybody? C4 here, and welcome back to the 32-team 7th round of mock draft series, where today we're looking at the team that holds the 21st overall pick in the first round in the Seattle Seahawks. Now, this is going to be a very, very quick video, because as of right now, they only have 4 picks in the draft, and I'm looking at their roster, and I don't know if they're going to be able to move some assets around to get more picks in the draft. Like, when you look at where their depth is, they have depth at running back, but I don't think you're going to move on from Chris Carson, even though they do have first-round pick last year and Rashad Penny on the roster. You look at the linebacking core, maybe there's some value for Barkevious Mingo, or that's pretty much it. Delano Hill at safety. I just think it's going to be tough. It's going to be pretty tough for the Seattle Seahawks to acquire more picks than what they have right now, unless they start trading, they look at 2020 picks. Plus, there's the news right now about, is Doug Baldwin even going to play? There's reports that he might be retiring after like a kind of surprise injury and stuff like that. So we will try to address that within the mock draft here. But without further ado, at pick 21, and I think the biggest area they need to fix, they don't have Earl Thomas anymore. That's obviously a big loss, as Earl Thomas is now a member of the Baltimore Ravens. So I have them selecting at pick 21, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, safety from Florida. And I absolutely love, because obviously Gator bias, that more and more draft analysts over the last month and a half or so have gone ahead and put Chauncey Gardner as the number 1 safety in the class. Because you know me, I've been having him number 1 since pretty much day one. There's Gator bias, yeah, but the tape don't lie. The tape don't lie. And when I watch every single Florida Gator game for the last every year, I can tell you right now, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is the best safety we've had since Jesus. Keanu Neal, they're not really the same type of player. Reggie Nelson, I guess, would be a closer comparison. But he's right in there, if not the best that we've seen. He's a complete defensive back, has the experience playing that new money backer role where the safety stays on and plays as a linebacker. Ran a 4.48 at the combine, tested very well at the combine, and in my biased opinion, improved his, maybe not improved, because I always had him as number 1, but solidified his stock as the number 1 safety from the combine. He looked as smooth as anybody, if not the top in the combine drills. Athletic testing was not off the charts, but better than a lot of people expected. And when I really do look at the Seattle Seahawks here, I think Chauncey Gardner-Johnson could start at either safety spot right now. Obviously, they have Brady McDougal, Tedrick Thompson, or Delano Hill will play free safety. I think he's best suited as a free safety because he brings cornerback traits. You need to remember, going trip down memory lane, when Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was a true freshman, he started at corner for the Florida Gators, and he was regarded as one of, if not the best, true freshman cornerback in college football. So I think, that, and then he moved into safety, and that was because of need, not because he wasn't good enough at corner. We just, Florida Gators, one of those teams, along with like LSU and like Ohio State, that constantly have high levels of turnover in the secondary because of guys just going to the NFL draft. We had some corners, but we didn't have a safety. He pretty much got played into a free safety, and then next year, or last year anyways, he played that safety linebacker hybrid role, and every single time he has played this position at a very high level. So in terms of flexibility, there is not a more versatile, high-level defensive back in this year's draft class, and that's kind of what the Seattle Seahawks need right now. And I think another big-time positive is with the loss of Earl Thomas. They lost the leader of that secondary. They lost a lot of it too when Richard Sherman left, but like the last of that Legion of Boom mentality, that leadership, the guy that's the rah-rah guy, was Earl Thomas. Now he's gone on to the Baltimore Ravens, but a guy like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, he was the leader of the Florida Gator defense for the last 2 years, and I think he could slowly earn and transition into that Earl Thomas leadership role as they try and reshape the Legion of Boom 2.0. I'm pretty sure they're probably going to lose that moniker, but you know what I'm saying? They need that guy on the back end that can get everyone organized, that can make sure and get the guys up to play, and I think a guy like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson can be that player. Moving into the 3rd round at pick 84, I'm selecting OSHANE XIMINES, defensive end from Old Dominion. Brings elite production just over the last 2 years. He has 100 tackles, 32 tackles for loss, 20 sacks, and 8 forced fumbles. Big kind of knock right now for him amongst the scouting community is the lack of athletic ability, like elite athletic ability. And there's been a lot of discussion. Is he a 3-4 outside linebacker? Is he a 4-3 defensive end? I think the best way to kind of mask the lack of elite athleticism is to put him on the line. Put him as a 4-3 defensive end versus as him as an outright linebacker where he can get exposed in passing downs. I think when you look at the Seattle Seahawks right now, he could come in and be the 4th defensive end on their roster. I think as a rookie, he brings the profile of a very high upside rotational edge rusher. But the fact that they got Frank Clark playing on a franchise tag, there's not a lot of stability right now at defensive end for the Seattle Seahawks. That's a one-year wonder. playing on a 1-year deal, essentially, for Frank Clark. They got Rasheem Green from USC last year, 3rd-round pick in 2018. More of, like, in reality, he's like more of a defensive tackle than he was, or a 3-4 defensive end than he is a 4-3 end. They have Quentin Jefferson, who's been, all right in spot duty. Cassius Marsh, more of a special teamer. So, like, there's a lot of uncertainty about the Seattle Seahawks defensive ends going forward. I mean, you would assume they will try to extend Frank Clark and make him a part of their long-term options. But I think they definitely should look, considering the strength of this year's draft class is on that defensive line. So you get a guy that's more of a technician that makes up for his lack of athletic ability with, sound technical ability, good pass rushing moves, versus just having that elite burst. And I think more often than not, we can give the benefit of the doubt to the Seattle Seahawks that they're going to develop their defensive players. For whatever reason, it seems like their mid-round defensive players or late-round defensive players always seem to develop into better than expected, better than their draft profile. We saw that with Poona Ford. We saw that with Nazir Jones. We saw that with Shaquille Griffin. We saw that with Trey Flowers, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. So, I'd had full confidence that they can develop XIMINES into a really nice rotational defensive end as a rookie with upside to eventually be a starter. Going into the 4th round at pick 124, I was liking JAMEL Dean, cornerback from Auburn. He is your height, weight, speed, defensive back freak of the draft class at 6'1", 205 pounds, ran a 4.30 flat, had 16 reps on the bench press, a 41-inch vertical, really, really long arms. Like, he's literally your prototypical, what the hell is this type of athlete? Like, where was this guy in college football? He has injury concerns, which I think might have people a little bit wary of his athletic profile. You sometimes will see these guys sneak into the 3rd round, sneak into day 2 at some point. I think because he has the injury concerns and not a whole lot of college production, he'll be day 3. He'll be going very early day 3. And, kind of like what I said about XIMINES, I think when you look at the Seattle Seahawks, especially when it comes to the secondary, they have been developing these players to be better than expected. Like we saw Shaquille Griffin, 3rd-round pick in 2017. He's playing a lot better than his scouting profile. Trey Flowers, the 5th-round pick last year. He was one of the better young corners in football. You saw Justin Coleman, who was their nickel, kind of came out of nowhere, out of obscurity. I think they picked him up off the waiver wire from New England. He went on and got a big payday from the Detroit Lions. So and then you can even go all the way back to Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman, converted wide receiver, they got him developed into a high player. So getting a guy with a great athletic profile with a very high ceiling like JAMEL Dean, I'd say looking at track record alone, obviously there's been a lot of transition and new faces come on that Seattle Seahawks defense, but I would gamble that the Seahawks are going to be able to develop him and reach that potential. And getting that athletic profile, that is huge because you can't coach that. You just simply can't coach that whatsoever. So, 4th round, 124, get the flyer on the athletic freak with a high upside and gamble that once again the Seattle Seahawks can work some magic on a prospect and get him to play as a very good rookie, where his draft profile might say he's a work in progress, might not be good till year 2, year 3 type guy. And then finishing up the mock draft at pick 159 in the 5th round, I'm selecting KEESEAN Johnson, wide receiver from Fresno State. With the uncertainty right now surrounding the future of Mr. Doug Baldwin, I think you look at a guy like KEESEAN Johnson, he's a high upside wide receiver that comes with a great technical background, really, really solid hands, but kind of like XIMINES, below average athlete. At the combine, running 4.60, which is, that's pretty much getting to the cutoff where you're like, I don't know if this guy's going to get drafted, or maybe we'll take a flyer on him as an undrafted free agent, bring him as a camp body, get him in the preseason. But I think when you look at the body of work for KEESEAN Johnson, great production, man. The last 2 years at Fresno State, 170 receptions, 2,300 yards, and 16 touchdowns. That's more than enough to say, all right, maybe we can look past the bad combine, look at the tape, and he's really pretty goddamn well-rounded. His tape kind of reminds me a little bit of Cortland Sutton out of SMU last year. Obviously not the same type of wide receiver, but just the separation, some of the wow plays he made looked eerily similar. We all saw Cortland Sutton go, 2nd round, maybe 3rd round. I think it was 2nd round to the Denver Broncos, and he might be the wide receiver 1 next year. So I'm looking at a team here like the Seattle Seahawks. Because of the uncertainty about Doug Baldwin, I don't know if I want to invest a higher pick. Maybe you can go in the 4th round. But that'd be it, just because you're going to gamble that he will come back. And you still have Tyler Lockett and David Moore, the 7th-round pick in 2017 out of Tennessee. He had some good production for them last year. You got Darboh, the 3rd-round pick in 2017 from Michigan. There's still some guys there, but definitely things get a lot more trickier if Doug Baldwin decides to hang it up. And I think in the 5th round, getting a guy that's, would be considered pretty good value here in KEESEAN Johnson, a guy that can bring wide receiver 4 potential as a rookie, looking at their current depth chart, or if Doug Baldwin retires, he might have that upside to creep into that wide receiver 3 territory. It's just a smart investment for a team with very limited draft picks. And I just think, you know, you look back to only having 4 picks. I don't necessarily think you could gamble on a wide receiver because of the uncertainty with Doug Baldwin. Wait until the very end and get a guy like that, because ultimately, a guy like Russell Wilson can make a lot of average wide receivers look better than expected. So, you know, 4th, 5th round is where I would target one. So there you go, guys. That is the mock draft here for the Seattle Seahawks. All 4 picks in their glory. Seahawks fans in particular, let me know in the comment section below if you agree or disagree with any of the picks you saw here today. As always, if you're your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button, smash the like button if you enjoyed. And until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.